Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining us. Today is World Building Wednesday, and if you have found this channel on the interwebs, just to let you know that this channel simulcasts on Twitch, YouTube, and Discord. You can find all that information down below the video. Now, today on World Building Wednesday, we take the subject that we talk about all week long, and we kind of turn it into its own concept, if you will. It is the thing that shapes the world, whatever the subject is that we're talking about. Now, this week's subject has been knights. Yes, hey, Ivor, hello there. How are you? Knights, those stereotypically clad, armored, knighted individuals, supporting their lords and following their oaths and things of that nature. So, but how do we world build with them? Now, we've world built with many things, from teleport portals to Medusa and all things in between, including, I think we even did one on chases and those kind of exploration things. But when it comes to knights, I thought I would take their core essential value, and much like a paladin's oath, that the world, for whatever reason, has been shaped where your word, your promises, your code of conduct is extremely important. Now, I'm sure those of you out there going, ooh, it's not just knights, it's like samurai and such too, right? And I'm going to answer to you, yes, of course it is. So we can pull 1,001 concepts from the idea of playing in a world where your face, meaning like how you are perceived, the promises you keep, the oaths you've taken, and what happens if you break those oaths in in any kind of manner. I'm sure in this world, the world that we're building, will have pretty severe consequences for those who are who do not hold tight to the words that they say, who break promises, who lie, who care nothing for how the world perceives them, and the benefits and penalties there are for how the public perceives you as well. And I'm thinking to give this a lot more of a twist than to just copy and paste, say, the Pendragon or Legend of the Five Rings. I would also suggest that maybe there's an arcane side effect to not keeping your promises. Maybe those who are liars and cheats and things like that represent the mysterious other. They represent the multitudes of bad guys out there in the wild. And because of that, there is an actual physical, there is a physical manifestation of those who do not keep their word. Much like I suppose, when parents talk to their children and talk about the boogeyman, that in this world there is a realism to it, and more than just a paladin becoming an anti-paladin or a dark knight or a death knight or something like that. Maybe it's even worse. Maybe there are, for example, the seven tenets of honor that everyone everyone holds tight, even amongst the normal population, and by breaking one or more of them over a long period of time, whether it's internal or not, maybe there are certain classifications of monstrous entities that you may or may not become. I would also suggest that in this world, maybe, just maybe, the creatures out there, the monstrous entities, the otherworldly creatures, are more common than a little bit. Like I could imagine a council of elders being visited by a devil with a contract, and it literally shows up with papers and ink pen and such before a fortnight before a major battle is to take place for against their enemies, and the devil shows up in physical form, in the council chambers, being very, showing a lot of poise, saying the right words to enter into the chambers, and everyone's like, you can't sign these papers. Like, it's a real public thing. Like, they're actually having a discourse as to whether they should or shouldn't sign the papers of a devil or a rakshasa or a lich or something like that. Like any number of otherworldly beings or powerful entities or mentors and such. And the idea would be that some people do make the a bargain with the devil, basically, and they make the devil's bargain, and others are put in a position of holding true to their honor, but maybe being in a weakened position, or maybe if they hold to their honor despite the fact that they're in a weakened position, maybe they receive some form of benefit thereof. Yeah. Ivor Decker is at the end of the stream yesterday said one of my characters from Deadlands, an ex-outlaw who was cheated and almost killed by his own band but saved by a priest. So he walked the path of redemption wearing his watch, which saved his life, and broken by a bullet. Deflected a bullet. I get it. So every time he does an honorable thing, time goes back. If bad, forward, and 12 equals death. Ooh, I like that. That Wild West idea, like the idea that it's the physical manifestation of the countdown clock, like the countdown to Armageddon, where there could be there could be a physical manifestation for everyone in a different way. That the closer, the more they dishonor themselves and others and break their own codes, the greater the steps towards death. Yeah, a personal doomsday clock. Yeah. There's even this idea of the Grim Reaper. Like the Grim Reaper might be a thing where up on the hill, someone sees the Grim Reaper standing open an open grave with their scythe and the face and shadow or a skeletal face or something, and the PC's name is on literally carved on the stone, and they're having of course the Grim Reaper never responds, but they could be arguing and chastising the Grim Reaper like, oh no, you're not going to get me in there. And could be, of course it's not something you can actually fight, but it may be something you can have a discourse with in this world. Yeah. Ivor says, Ivor Decker says, Order of Paladins who got their powers from demons inside, so they need to restrict it every moment. Like they are volunteered to be prisons for these monsters. Yeah, that's another thing too, as well. Like they're like the conduits or the chalices, maybe the corked bottles of evil that are out there. But at the same time, they are, as a side effect, they're receiving their powers from these dark entities. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't good entities either, but maybe they are. Maybe the promise was that they restrict themselves. Harry, the only individual I allow to be older than me to take part in these live broadcasts. Well, thank you very much, Harry. I really appreciate it. Now, internal and external codes of conduct and oaths. Okay. Internally, of course, people can say anything and commit all kinds of acts, but how they feel on the inside, whether they feel guilt or they feel betrayed or whatnot, could have something like maybe externally some people don't see it, or maybe there's a possibility that much like old wives' tales. The person that lies has a snake's tongue, and then maybe maybe there are physical manifestations of having a snake's tongue. A thief's a thief thief's hands turns black. Maybe a murderer who walks down the street leaves bloody footprints or something, right? Like there could be strange and non-scientific details left behind by the people who are not true to their promises and their oaths. And this could be like a death spiral in many ways. The murderer who wants to go down the path of redemption, people still look at this individual like, oh, I don't want to be near you. You leave bloody footprints everywhere you walk, despite having shoes on or not. But this individual might be on that path of redemption, and maybe, just maybe, the world, like, could you imagine a troll living in a desolate region of the world, and that troll represents the lies you've told, right? Or maybe a doppelganger might represent something like that. Like there could be enemies and monsters out there specifically tied in a very personal manner to the PCs, so that it's not just a matter of, oh, I'm going to go out and kill the troll, but that troll basically does the vicious mockery on the player character specifically, because it's like they know the lies you've told, they know the promises you've broken, they know that you've been a thief, they know you haven't been true, or those kind of things. Now, it's also possible that there are maybe different levels of promises. I am going to recount this, I'm sure, improperly, but it doesn't matter. Just follow me on the concept. There is White Wolf came out with, vampire, werewolf, mage, changeling, and before the second editions and further of the game, during their first editions, they also made a variation of each of those games that took place not in the modern world, but in the past. So there was a changeling, a changeling game, but the version of it was in the past. And one of the things that the Fey creatures could gain their power on were these like promises. And maybe there are different levels of promises. Like really minor promises would be sweeping the floor, washing dishes, or walking, spending time with your grandmother. And those promises might be like wood promises. They're like very minor things. Fix the roof, feed the dog, or your sister's missed you a long time, for a long time. Why don't you send her a letter? Old man so and so really could use someone's help when the next harvest comes in. And those might be wood promises. And maybe there's like a wood totem or a wooden ring or something that you carry on yourself, like a fob, like dangling from your belt or around your neck, or tied around your wrist or something. And then maybe the second level up from there might be like stone promises. Stone promises might be something like, if there's a call to battle, you will join me in the battle against my enemies or something. Or the great festival to the seven-armed god is coming, and you will represent one of the arms. So make sure that you're here to participate in the great festival, so we can give of ourselves, so that light will shine upon our people or something. Like that might be a little bit more intricate. So those might be like stone or like gemstone promises. And then maybe the ultimate promises of like life and limb, of maybe even your soul, are like iron or steel promises. Like if the great demon Adrigith comes to this world, you will sacrifice your life to prevent it from spreading its evil. Or when the when any firstborn child is here, you will train them to be in an army and lead them against our enemies, and ensure that they are the defenders against the encroachment of evil or something like that. So those might be like iron promises where you have to place yourself in danger, and it might risk not just your life but the lives of others, maybe even the lives of innocent people, or sacrifice your mind or your sanity in that particular endeavor. So that might be a possibility as well. And I can imagine in this world that lots of things could be solved. Okay, let's think of the classic stereotypical Renaissance duelist, right? With like flintlocks at noon, flintlocks and or duels with rapiers, and you have assuaged my honor, sir, and they take a silk scarf or silk glove and smack the person in the face or something. There might be different cases of that as well, especially for the people who want to be movers and shakers in the world. The lawful evil of the people might push you or the player characters into positions where the player characters know they're being trapped by making a promise, but they might lose face for not promising to do a thing that their enemy has verbally committed them to making that promise in order to remove the PCs away, so the evil person now has the maybe the ear of a powerful noble or something, and the players are like, oh, I don't want to go off to war, I need to be here to keep their ass from this person's ear. But refusing to join in the war effort might also be something as well. And mind you, hey, what's going on there? No, how are you? Um, and it's a possibility that, just very much like the cinematic samurai, where their oaths to their lords and their honor sometimes come into conflict with each other. There are times where your promises, hmm, it's different. There are times where your promises might not be in line with, or you may not be able to keep a promise to keep your honor, or they're giving mercy to the enemy might be the preferable thing, but to do so may harm your like reputation, your face. Uh, I suppose you could twist that a little bit. What's the I'm gonna call you. I don't want to call you Dung. Dungy says, I'm thinking of a character I just came up with, an unreliable mentor to the party in this fringe group campaign. In We are specifically talking about world building in terms of using knighted characters, or characters that are devoted to oaths or a society. So I suppose you could have individuals like that are like in places of power, or are intended to be elders or individuals that are to give instructions to the player characters, and they're in a position where on one hand they should be following the instructions of this individual, but on the other hand they know this person might be a bit incompetent, or they're aging and they're not remembering things correctly, or they're in a position of power and everyone knows that they've only gotten to that position of power through like nepotism, um, not through capabilities, not through skill and talent and merit. And the question would be, do you follow this individual knowing that it's going to place you in danger, or do you not follow the person knowing that it would save the group, but you end up harming your own reputation for not holding true to the promise of following this person? Yep. Yeah. And Digimon says, because I'm imagining characters who are sworn to a cause, but not that powerful yet. Exactly. And it could be it um being sworn to a cause. Of course, the closest thing we can come to now are fifth edition paladins, right? Where they take oaths to. That's how they essentially. There's this ephemeral thing where they are an oath, and they're because of the oath they have certain abilities and such. But you don't have to restrict ourselves specifically to paladins because every character class could be developed in some kind of way in terms of taking an oath. Especially, let's take your classic fighter, right? Maybe a fighter has taken an oath to serve in a military regime to gain the skills that they have, and the push and pull might be that an old mentor or something, or the old squad of soldiers calls that individual back to fight in a war that the player character may not even believe in any longer, but they're being called to serve again. And the question is, what do they do? And I can imagine having a mechanical version of this in a game where you have a statistic that as the statistic rises on one side, it lowers on the other. So you're like, what is it, in the Dungeon Master's Guide? They have honor and renown. Get 20 points of honor and renown. Equalizing it would be like a 10-10 stat, and holding to your honor goes up, but your renown, how people look at you, might go down because yes, you've held to your honor, but the people may not look at you right because you decided to not join the army or something like that, or join the new cause of your fellow soldiers. And Digimon says, what if instead of a good or evil oath, we got people who take an oath and devote themselves to a cause that's alien, like not good or evil, just strange or an alien cause. For example, a person devoted to freedom would free slaves and take down corruption while assassinating representatives and breaking down militaries, etc. Yeah, well, the oaths in Dungeons and Dragons for paladins kind of runs along that way. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Harry says we don't want to say like an old woman along a roadside begging for food. In I I think in reference to the fact that maybe like an old crone or something might be more than you know, and that so this old woman's begging for food on the side of the road, and you're just like, I don't have time to stop. But somebody, other player characters, like, no, we should stop and feed her, and that person might be like an old hag or a representative of like an um, angelic council or something. It's possible that each character has their deeds weighed against them in an actual physical sense. Like they literally go before a council that like weighs their, what's the Egyptian form? Like I think it's called Mat, M-A apostrophe A-T, or Ma'at, and which would be kind of strange but kind of cool. Yep. Um, Yeah, Digimon says freedom is the cause, no matter if it results in a wasteland or utopia, so long as people have the freedom to choose, which perfectly sets along. It's that's the idea of like, well, not every paladin needs to be lawful good. They can be chaotic good to free people, and there might be, again, there might be like the seven high tenets of this world where freedom could be one of them, or justice, or um, like justice might be punishing, lawbreakers, right? And so, despite the fact that freedom and justice are the top tenets, the person who is, wants to punish lawbreakers would actually go after the person who frees slaves or something like that. You know what I mean? So they would both be honor bound, but also at the same time on opposite sides of the honor they've chosen, despite the fact that they may have served in the same regime. Okay, okay. Yeah, Digimon says I'm thinking about that because there's a system called unknown armies. Yeah, yeah, and also I'm thinking that there may be people who have been cast out. Maybe they have no honor, and they are the liars and cheats. Of course, there are going to be people like that. You know. Um, okay. All right. All right, D. Um, by the way, guys, for those who don't know, over there on Twitch and hanging out on YouTube and in the Discord server, there are three ways to participate in the show. So, yeah, so any of you in all of you and any of you, please participate, even now or later on. Sending in comments or things like that. Heck, you can even join the Facebook group, join the Discord, and participate that way as well. If you feel like, I'm not able to, get to the live shows. Now, yeah, Harry says, for my case, she was a dragon. Yeah, the idea that I'm imagining there were outsiders who have broken their oaths and they've been kicked out. And there's this like weird feedback loop where people have broken their honor but have been unable to regain their honor, so they're out in the evil lands. But in order to, maybe they need to find champions to return them back to the world of the honorable and good by finding a representative, like a spokesperson. Like, this person speaks for me to bring me back, but they're part of like these evil regimes, and so much like the old crone being a dragon, maybe they're on a mission to find specific champions, or they're on a mission to stop those champions from saving the souls of those who might be lost forever. And there could even be an economy of sorts where individuals are hired, much like The Witcher. Like, throw them some coin to see if you can retrieve the soul of a loved one that has gone over into like the oathless lands. The people whose words mean nothing, and maybe there's individuals who are hired to go there because they ride the razor's edge. It's like they're honorable because they work for coin and they keep their promises, but they're also on the edge because they have no justice or mercy about them. They're just like, if you pay me, I'll do it. Fine, you know. Yeah. Digimon says devoting yourself to war means you must declare war upon something or ones, such as like concepts or groups of people, but you must never compromise on that war. Meaning, if you declare war on crime, you'd have to arrest or you'd have to basically make arrests or give fines or something your family members if they commit even a single crime. I like that. Now, how to measure that in a gaming sense could be a little could there could be some conflict there, but if everyone's on the same page, I really like that. Especially the individual that's got to arrest their own family member, but it also hurts because they are not they're devoted to, say, a war on crime, but they also take a hit because they're literally arresting one of their family members, and their devotion to family is broken because they're dragging one of their family members to be imprisoned or something, Yeah. Harry says, talking about the woman, old crone that was a dragon. She wondered why nobody helped her in the night, and the knights ignored her plight. Yeah, there's again this cycle of people harming the ones who live in the lands of protected by the knights, because maybe the knights are ignoring the plight of the people who live on the outskirts. They live in the donut, and the more the knights refuse or ignore the plights of the innocent, the greater chance they have of those innocents being affected by something. So maybe it's like I don't want to say like radiation, but maybe there's there is a physical effect on the innocence that's like, please don't let this happen to me. My child is being corrupted because you guys can't hold to your honor and truth or something. And of course, there's the idea that no one could ever be pure, pure honor and just and merciful and devoted, all at the same time, all so, yep. Yeah. D says, no except, oh, I'm sorry. That man says, or look at the Weasel's Luck Dragonlance novel, or its sequel, Galen Beck write it. The character Weasel, Galen would be a perfect, unreliable mentor to his squire. I didn't read that one. I got like two or three books into the Dragonlance, and that's been, damn, in the '80s, mid '80s. I haven't read those books in a long time. Um, um, Dungy says, no exceptions, and at high enough levels, the warrior can shrug off attacks from the group or concepts or whatever they declare war upon. Meaning, if a person is a criminal, then the warrior who declares war on crime is immune to criminal attacks. I could very much I could see them having the ability to, like, almost in a mystical sense, like, sense whether crime is happening or not at a particular level. Like, I don't know why I'm being drawn down this dark alley, and then all of a sudden someone gets attacked there. Almost like a Minority Report kind of thing. Excuse me. However, devoting yourself to such things absolutely does a number on your sanity with a unique sanity system. Like, so a higher devotion equals more magic equals less sanity, or it could be it it could go the other way. So you can have a higher devotion, making you, of course, better at performing your devotion, but it also means that you are more susceptible to things on the outskirts, meaning like the person who has a war on crime and arrests their family members suffers greatly because of the guilt they feel from having to arrest one of their family members in the first place. So to assuage that guilt, which guilt might equal like a type of sanity or a dissonance or something like that, then to then try to free them from their capture might be to go against their devotion, but it might, in even in a short term, protect their sanity. You know what I mean? Um, he's Dungy says guilt is part of the sanity meter in unknown armies. Yeah, okay. And this is a great time, especially if you build a world like this, where I often talk about different vectors of loss and gain and threat. So absolutely in this world, it's not taking classic Dungeons and Dragons. It's not just about doing hit points and loss of hit points and gaining those hit points back. It's just as important to portray yourself in a particular manner, by asking permission to do things, by beseeching those in power, by offering mercy to your enemies, and I don't know there, Harry. Not sure where that comes from. Um, but there could be this thing where, yes, a PC might be like, oh, I'm just going to, it's Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just going to, hyper focus all my stuff on combat. I mean, what do I need honor or renown for or something? But there may also be might be just as equal drawbacks to what the capabilities of the PC or how the public perceives them if they don't do things in the proper manner. Much like, sure, I know you want to go out and kill the monsters, but maybe you need to ask permission from the local lords or something first and go to the council, and maybe you have to wait for the council to make the decision. Now, of course, you're tapping your foot this entire time, like, oh, like, come on, come on, come on, let me go. I just want to pull my sword and kill these things. But the council's like, no, we have to talk with each other. And maybe you find out that one or more monsters out there are the relatives of somebody on the council, so they really don't want you going out there to slay their second cousin or something like that. You know. Thank you, Dead Man. Dead Man puts in the Unknown Army's uh, link in the Discord. An occult horror RPG about broken people trying to fix an equally broken world. Explore the world of the occult underground through tense, mature role playing. Oh yeah, and of course I know about Call of Cthulhu, and it's in its seventh iteration now. And of course, um, Call of Cthulhu, in all its iterations, has always been known to be the game that has embraced the sanity track, and that's sometimes I think the sanity track is a little bit too gonzo. Um, I think reflavoring it so that it's extremely personal. So, um, in other words, like making it so personal that the player characters may be distracted because they see um, an apparition that looks like the person that they killed, or they are woken and they wake up in a cold sweat because the family member they arrested and threw into the who's gal in shackles or something is speaking to them in their ear, and or maybe they're unable to speak, but all they do is hear the chains that were latched around their wrists and ankles and such, and they know every single day they don't do something about this, their loved one is doing hard labor, and everyone knows that you can barely survive a year in hard labor, let alone the 27 years they were punished. I mean, they were sentenced to or something, and the PC is like, no, but I have to go against my own desires or something, and that reskinning, that reflavoring, might be the person's sanity starting to break away just a little bit at a time. Yeah, thanks, Dungeon. Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. That's what Unknown Armies does better than Call of Cthulhu. It's a sanity meter. Yeah, and oh, thank you, Christy. Um, you gave me a link in the Discord. You may not be in the. Oh, and thank you again, there, Christy, for popping on in. I appreciate that. Um, yeah. Now remember, if you are part of the Discord, that um, pop on down to the boiler room. If you pop the comment down in the boiler room, we'll be able to see it pretty good. Now, the not just reskinning like the sanity meter, which I think is a really good idea to having your game. Um, it's also possible that um, yeah. Listen, Dungy. There's a lot of I. The show is not about one individual, so just be aware that there are many people participating in the chat on different platforms. All right, so just remember that, okay? Um, the idea that you can assuage the sanity inside of you, because not only it's like in Call of Cthulhu or Unknown Armies. I know you seem to be one who's like really like into Unknown Armies at this moment, but whatever role playing game you're playing, the opportunity to assuage your guilt or your the evils that you've done should also be a thing that's possible to basically backtrack on, right? So, in other words, the individual who's devoted to, say, a war on crime, but really, really, really wants um, to break out their loved one from jail. Maybe they end up finding who that person is, and maybe that person feels like, you know what, I kind of deserve to be here. So thanks, but in a way, yeah, you know, maybe not. I see it. There it is, Christy. I see it. And it's also possible that maybe the person that did it is just like pissed off at the player character, right? So, yeah. Uh, Now, talking about the different types of oaths and things like that. No, you're fine there, Christy. Um, the other types of oaths is the fact that in this world, like we talked about, the oath of the Wild West, pirates oaths, samurai oaths, and knight oaths, and things like that. Much like Dungy brought up, that there might be different types of oaths, and so, and mind you, you don't have to limit yourself to like the seven deadly sins and the seven virtues or something like that. Although that's a good place to start, but how different player characters are brought together based on the oaths that they each have could be pretty complicated, but also very cool because different individuals might be focused on different things, and the player characters themselves, because of the oaths they've taken as a group, may be, you know what, despite the fact that I'm not, say, waging war and crime, but you are devoted to freedom, it actually benefits me to help support you on your oath to freedom, at least temporarily, so that we can all work together. So there might be a group, like in a way, like a group oath. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of the proper a proper terminology. But when the group gets together, there might be a specified oath taken amongst the group, much like King Arthur and the Round Table, and such. So yeah, that's also a possibility, that so that you don't have a whole bunch of like randos running around like, oh, I'm gonna, a bunch of player characters. It's like it's just about me because it's always me, and it's just me, and it's me yet again, that kind of thing. Um, Jason's delving into classic lit references. The Musketeers would be grouped in with those with oaths too. Yeah, the Three Musketeers, absolutely. Well, not necessarily three. The Musketeers themselves are a group that takes an oath to serve the kingdom and all that kind of business. And despite them all, of course, having different personalities, the oath that they've taken is one to serve the crown and that sort of thing. And maybe, just maybe, the player characters could, like, let's say there's like an evil king or something. There's always some evil noble, and the player characters, knowing that they have to serve the crown, may think like, okay, so how do we remain true to our oath, but remove the noble, knowing that it's going to completely break our oaths and such, and um, much like, oh, I don't know, let's say the Black Panther movie and the Dora Milaje, and how they serve the new king, or something, and it went right across, the 47 Ronin, where they want to serve, the shogun or the daimyo, but at the same time that individual's causing them to wreak havoc on the population. Maybe, just maybe, they're able to say, find someone who has a true claim to the crown, like in the Musketeers, and put that person in the seat of power, so that they're like, okay, we're still devoted to our honor and our loyalty and our oaths, but maybe somebody new needs to sit on the throne and stuff. So yeah, yeah, and of course, having an oath that kind of like has maybe various tenets, like if you serve king and country, on one hand you're serving the king, and maybe on the other hand you're serving the country, right? So yeah. Harry says, a game I ran, the oath was to protect his country from their stupidity. Yeah. Some would say that may be even happening today in various places around the world. Yeah. Uh, yeah. It's crazy. So, um, whoa, there's some stuff popping in here all over. So there are, yeah, because like as Christy is saying, when you serve king and country, it's also possible, if you wanted to do this on a mechanical level, to say, well, my character is like a level 5 in serving king and a level 8 in serving country or something like that. If you wanted to really mechanize these kind of things, you don't have to. Yeah. Um, and so maybe there are even criminals, and I say criminals very loosely, that the player characters might be going after that on the outside may have broken their oaths, but internally, when maybe the investigation of it, you find out that the one who seems to be going against the king and country is actually looking for the real person who should be on the throne, and maybe the young lady that should be on the throne doesn't even know it, and they found this bloodline or a bastard child or something, and it's like, okay, yeah, guys, I know you thought I went against the crown, but I really didn't. And then maybe now the player character is in a position of like, okay, wow, we promised to bring this person to justice, but we agree with them, but they did lie and break their oath, but they did it for a good reason, and technically they're still serving the crown, and so that could be really complicated. So I like the idea of the complications. What you really don't want to do is have like what you really don't want to do is have the table break down the 45 minutes over arguing over whether somebody broke their oath or not, right? That's what you really don't want. We've already seen that from the original Lawful Good Paladin and so on and so forth. We see that in arguments about alignment and how it's used. And while there's nothing wrong with the system itself, sometimes there's something wrong with us. So yeah, you don't want the game to break down into that, Yeah. So uh, I'm thinking also. I should have wrote these notes. I don't often write notes or anything, but I was thinking about this. The enemies that are on the outskirts of the world. It's also possible, or even a common thing, where instead of just like, oh, I'm just going to take my weapons and go out into the dark reaches of the world and slay evil things, maybe there's a commonality of them coming into like civilized lands, and it's a very common thing for like, oh, I don't know, giving mercy to not killing the troll, and the troll shuffles back to where they came from, or the ogre that you almost put down ends up serving the crown for a year and a day because you defeated them in like one-on-one combat or something, or that major armies come together, but they bring their 5 best champions to fight against the 5 champions from the other side, or maybe things are solved not just from like battle and war, but they're solved from tests of honor and strength and nobility and intelligence, like the story of Hercules, right? He's got the 12 the 12 deeds or something like that. Maybe it's also in this world where the player characters, in order to solve a thing, it's not a matter of going out and slaying the thing, but there are 5 trials the PCs must go through, and the 5 trials might be like earth, air, fire, water, and void. And if you were able to survive all 5 trials, a great sphinx or something, goes to the king or something and says, "I need, the 12 labors of Hercules." Thank you, there, dead man. Says that if your champions can survive the 5 trials, understanding that each trial gets worse and worse and becomes more dangerous, then the chaos storms will end amongst your people or something. So, of course, not using true scientific methodology, but using mythology and like Fey-styled ways to solve problems. That in itself may be a thing, and stealing from like the 12 labors of Hercules. Maybe there's a creature that must be defeated barehanded, and it's like, oh, we got to figure this out. I don't know how to do this. Maybe there's a vast ocean that the PCs must swim across. It's like, we can't swim across the vast ocean, but maybe there is a way to get across the ocean, or to play a game of like chance or chess with a powerful entity. And if you win, the people are freed. But if you lose, maybe they claim your soul for like a year and a day or something like that. All of these things could be part and parcel of a world in which, honor and justice and diligence and, perseverance and grace is a measurement just as much as drawing your sword and hitting things amongst, about the head and shoulders and stuff. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, Harry. Harry says, "I am master. When this becomes a democracy, you can vote." Exactly. Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, that's the way government is run, right? Someone comes back with the golden fleece after going through the Odyssey, and the king is like, well, they do have the golden fleece, so I guess I'll step down now. Not so literally that way, but sure, maybe people are so tied in to their own personal honor and the honor of the position they serve and such, that when they see someone, or like a player character or an enemy or something, maybe the Medusa and her entourage comes into town, and she has upon her finger, the ring of the ancients or something, and they go, oh, she's got the ring of the ancients. I guess she deserves to be here, right? We can't kick her out of town. She's got the ring of the ancients. And it's like, how did she get the ring of the ancients? Well, there were these, she bypassed the 3 trials to get the ring of the ancients. It had to be, and it's not a matter of, of course, outright killing the Medusa in the middle of town and going, yeah, give me that ring, is a huge violation. But, finding out how she was able to surpass the 3 trials to get the ring in the first place might be a way to remove the Medusa from town, even though everyone else is there. It's like, we don't want her being here anyway. I hear you, Jay. Yes, earth, air, fire, water, and heart. I remember Captain Planet. Yeah. Oh wow. Deadman says the 3 tests of the dwarves given to Thor in Viking mythos. I don't know about those. I'm not up on my Asgardian mythology, but yeah, the 3 tests of the dwarves, and a lot of mythology has like this measurements of like tests and trials by the heroes, and some of them are meant as like anecdotally to measure someone's brilliance or how to solve a problem, and also to teach the population or teach young people how to overcome certain types of like difficulties and things. Like, you can't solve everything with just punching it in the face. Sometimes you need to use some form of intelligence or common sense or creativity to solve the thing, to keep the thing from happening. And that in and of itself, maybe the problem, maybe it's accepted by everyone at session 0 that there are problems that you cannot hack away with your sword, despite the fact that you really want to. The chaos storm that starts sweeping the countryside and killing the crops and preventing the sun from shining for a fortnight or something like that. You can't hack at that with a sword, even if it is personified with the face of an Efreet or something. But going through the trials, maybe the Efreet is like, no, they're going to bypass the 3 trials. I will send my agents to prevent them from doing so. For this is where I should be, and this is my power, or something. And personifying a lot of these things that you can talk to and interact with, even if it is, raising your fist into the air and the middle finger to the Efreet that's like, no, my chaos storms will rain here, and I will rain down fire and lightning and brimstone, and then the PCs are like, no, we're gonna go find the storm Jin to get rid of you there, sir. And the Efreet is like, maybe next time I will be back. Now, of course, you don't have to. Maybe I'm flowing into the twirly mustachio realm here, but it doesn't have to be that literal, But yeah, having something, and also none of this has to be physical. Some of these could be trials in which, let's say, go to the Jedi, right? Some of these tests are, the character may think they are physical, but they are tests that are purely on the psychological realm, like a dreamscape of sorts, or a test in which, sure, we're using the game statistics, but really this was just, like Tesla says, like the tree on Dagobah, right, where the player character needs to solve the problem, and it's not a matter of attacking the thing with the sword, but it might be meditative. It might be a going to a sweat lodge. It may be taking certain types of like hallucinogenic drinks, or incense, or asking the old hermit that lives in a mountain to guide you on a spirit travel to find the issue, to solve the thing, to get the thing to come back to reality, to then solve the problem, right? So, and you could combine all these together, like layer them out, where instead of the air quotes adventure in the PC's travel for thousands of miles, maybe they go on a vision quest to get the magic sword, to then have the physical manifestation of the magic sword to kill the evil thing, even though this entire time they've been sitting Seiza, going on a journey for months in their minds, but it's only been a few moments in time in real time, right? Yeah. Thank you very much, Dead Man. Yes. By the way, for all of you out there, if you'd like to again take part in this show that is TriCast over on Twitch, YouTube, and Discord, please take part in that. I know many of you are homebound. Many more of you are suffering through the fact that you are not getting any income, and you are homebound as well due to that. If you want a distraction, of course, the show in no way will solve your issues, but if you just need a way to escapism, right? Please join in the show. Understand that this show, I'm a one-man army leading a platoon of intelligent, brilliant people out there. Please take part. Bring your positivity. Embrace those around you. All are welcome. This is the safe space for everyone. If that's, I don't know why that's an evil thing to say in our time. And again, maybe you're having trouble sleeping or something. Do it in that way. So, guys, thank you so much for participating. I really appreciate it. We are coming to the end. Tomorrow is Third Pillar Thursday, the third pillar of exploration, and I am a contributing writer to Critical Hit Publishing, and one of my specialties in many ways as being a self-appointed third pillarist is writing books, and one of my passions is talking about using that third pillar of gaming, the environment. Combat and social interaction are like the first and second pillars, and the third pillar is the environment itself. And how will this fit into Knights in Honor? We'll see tomorrow, but I've got a couple of ideas up my sleeves. So guys, thank you so much for participating. I really appreciate it. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Bye.